final clap.
Now that we've finished with season 2, I wanted to take a minute to wrap up the entire thing. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about was there were 3 episodes that for one reason or another you weren't able to be a part of.
It wasn't my favorite album. The thing that stuck out to me the most, and I understand why it's on there now, but at the time I didn't understand why Rage Against the Machine was on Metal Month and on Rock Month, because it, from first glance and like from first impressions and everything, knowing a little bit of Rage Against the Machine's music, they're not particularly metal, you know? So I think in hindsight it makes more sense, but that was the biggest thing I had going on when come October or last October.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? Because I don't think anyone would disagree with the fact that someone like Korn or Slipknot is considered new metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my ears anyway, Rage Against the Machine and Korn, there's more similarities than differences, right?
I don't know. Maybe not to my ears. To my ears, they're very different.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that your ears are worse. I'm just like, we have different ears.
Yeah.
The main thing with Lush for me, it wasn't as much of a critique as it was just me wanting to gush about my own feelings about Lush. But I really enjoy how, at least in terms of some of her musicality, like say her guitar in Brand New City, she's intentionally amateur. However, at the same time, she's making these like huge, really, really difficult vocal like leaps, you know, singing into tritones and having these like huge leaps and hard keys and hard modes and everything, but still being accessible.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting dichotomy. I didn't delve into it too much. I just kind of looked at it surface level, but I still think it's interesting to point out. I really enjoy, I mean, it makes me feel bad as a music student in college that she wrote this in college and released it in college. It makes me feel kind of like, what am I doing? That one was for my best friend, Jeff. He's the one who recommended that. He really enjoys Cage the Elephant and wanted to hear your take on it. Personally, not my kind of music, but there was a song that I really did enjoy. I think it was called Indie Kids. I don't know if that was the same one you enjoyed. But I really liked that song, but for the rest of them, it kind of sounded the same to me. Our opinions are pretty much the same. We came to the same conclusions about it.
The Lana Del Rey, I felt myself being really kind of emotionally invested in the music, but I think you had a negative reaction to who Lana Del Rey is as a person. It hindered you from getting into the music.
Yeah. Going forward, listening to music, it's very hard for me to do at times, but separating art from the artist is something I particularly struggle with. So if I know some aspects about a person that are less than savory and problematic, it'll tint my view on the music itself.
Yeah.
So that's something that I personally need to work on if I'm going to be doing more reviews of music in the future. And
you won't always know, you know, I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of a situation where there's an album that you've come to love or an album that maybe you love already, and you're going to find out years from now that the person's kind of a jerk. You know?
I don't doubt it.
You were a lot more positive about Lady Gaga than I was. I had a lot of Lady Gaga's album to me sounded very kind of corny, very kind of trite and silly at some points. But I mean, it seemed to me that you were getting some strong energy off that album, that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is for the exact same reason, just the opposite. I have very positive connotations with Lady Gaga. Therefore, when I listen to her music, I think of it more positively. However, with the whole like it sounding corny thing, I think that was her intent.
Interesting. Okay.
I really think that, I mean, think of her demographic. you know, her music is being played across like drag bars across the United States, very campy, very high energy, catering to a more silly audience. I'm not saying that gay people are silly as a gay person myself, but you know, it's campy.
Right.
You know, it's intentionally campy. It's intentionally fun and silly. It's not supposed to be very serious. So I think that was her intent, you know, fun club music.
Got it. Would it surprise you to learn that of everything that we've done, this past 29 albums we've looked at, the one by far, I mean, by huge orders of magnitude, has been most popular, had the most views, is Baby Metal?
That doesn't surprise me.
By a lot, like 5 times as many as the next closest video.
Baby Metal fans are hardcore. They know what they're talking about. If you put out a Baby Metal video, don't be like surprised when the Baby Metal fans come through.
And I honestly thought there would be some heat around talking about Beyonce or you know, BTS or Taylor Swift, but those were pretty quiet. But man, the Baby Metal fans do not mess around.
No, absolutely not. I think for the others, that's more of like your own personal demographic thing. You know, I don't think a lot of people in your demo are big Beyonce stans per se.
That's fair.
My favorite is Lush, obviously. I don't think that's any surprise. But of all of them that I didn't have a bias about beforehand, if we're going back to middle school, like I said I wanted to avoid, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, that was an album I listened to so many times. It was a favorite of mine for a really long time. So that one has a special place in my heart. Plastic Beach also has a special place in my heart. Also one of my favorite albums of all time. The one I was most pleasantly surprised about, I would probably have to say, is Sophie. When I think of hyperpop, I think of something like 100 Gex. I think of something very high energy, lots of noises, and you get some of that in Sophie's album. However, her goal was being more experimental, more slow, you know, getting really into the depths of the genre and seeing what you can do there. And I really appreciated that. So I was most pleasantly surprised by Sophie's album. I certainly didn't expect like a 10-minute art noise instrumental piece to close the thing out. Yeah. I was really taken aback by that in a good way. Yeah. There's a song on there, Face Shopping, that I really like. I love that song. It itches my brain. It makes my brain go smooth. I love it. But I wanted to know what you thought about that kind of like loudness. Well, it's interesting because there's 2 songs that have that same aesthetic, one right after the other, Pony Boy and then Face Shopping. And when I saw that there was a song called Pony Boy on there, I mean, Pony Boy's on Brother and Sisters. So I immediately kind of latched onto that and started listening to it to see if I could work up an arrangement of it, right? And so once I kind of got past that song onto the next song, I was like, oh, here's another one that kind of sounds like that. That being said, there's a little interlude in the middle of Face Shopping, a little quiet place where you think they've gone to the next song. And when they go back into that hard industrial noise groove, you know, after that little interlude, it's all the more jarring, I think. But I really enjoy jarring music. I like music that's dissonant and almost scary. Oh yeah. You know? Well, you saw 100 Gex live not too long ago, right? I did. And how was that? They were very fun. They were really fun. Something that surprised me, it's nothing that they have released right now, so it's not a song I'd be able to tell you guys, but they had a lot of Beastie Boy like songs, like very 90s rap, very 90s like Beastie Boy rap, very Sabotage in a way. And they did that a few times through their show, and it took me aback. I was really surprised, but they pulled it off really well. It was a ton of fun. Cool. Yeah. For me, probably Bon Iver. That one I found myself listening to a lot more than I thought I would. Tallahassee to a smaller extent. And then of the heavy stuff, of the Metal Month stuff, the one that I had the most fun with
was Meshuggah. But the one album that I thought was probably the most interesting and the best made of all of the metal albums altogether was probably Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Once I learned more about it, it made it so much more fun for me to listen to.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a rise out of you.
Well, you did. I don't know if you saw, but when you said, I don't know whether he liked it or not, I cut in a clip of Ren and Stimpy where Ren is banging himself on the head with a hammer. Keeping in mind that the things that I look for and respect and value about music are almost entirely absent on that album. Okay. So the Venn diagram of music that's interesting to me and music on Donker Mag, there's not much overlap there. The two that got stuck in my head, there was the Raging Zeph expletive, which was completely silly and absolutely warrants 70 seconds of laughter immediately following. There was the Cookie Thumper one where Yolandi is just being completely silly, and I'm sure swearing up in storm in Afrikaans, but I don't speak enough Afrikaans to know what she's saying. So
you want to know something? Those were my two favorite picks of the album. Exactly, two like verbatim. So I'm glad we could have some common ground there. I'm gonna have to say controversial take here, either BTS or Adele. I thought that for Adele, I thought every song sounded pretty much the exact same. It was an album of sad piano ballads. And then K-pop, I understand conceptually what it is as a genre, but I don't understand why people are so intense about it. Because it's just pop music, but in Korean, and I can go into a whole, if you want me to, I can go into a whole rant about how I think it's problematic.
Well, let's not get the stands on you.
Okay.
But you and I'm not gonna say the person's name just because it might not be something that they want exposed, but you and I have a common friend who came to town recently to see a K-pop show. And I tried to give that person's father a copy of the BTS collector's edition posters, catalogs, stickers, the whole kind of big thing that I got. And apparently that was the wrong move, because apparently one of the things about getting into K-pop is you pick a camp. And once you're kind of, this is my band and these are my bands, then that becomes the enemy. No, I don't want to have anything to do with that.
What was down there for you?
Honestly, it's a toss-up between Lady Gaga and Donker Mag for me. Those are the two I think I had the least amount of fun with. And honestly, the only reason why Taylor Swift and Adele are above that level is with the Taylor Swift one, it's not so much that the music wasn't any fun, it was just kind of neutral. It didn't really move the needle one way or the other for me at all. And with the Adele one, I get a little bit more enjoyment out of being able to say, this percussionist, this bass player, this engineer, they are known badasses. And by virtue of the fact that she was using a band of seasoned, professional, really honestly very good musicians, that helped me to get into it a little bit more. Thanks so much for doing this with me. It's been an absolute blast. I am so grateful to have your voice for this time, because if I had to go in blind for what has the music I need to hear of the past 20 years, it would have been an absolute mess. So both for the content of the video and for the recommendations, thank you. You've been wonderful.
There are just so many, many, many more I could have chosen. Over the past 20 years is a little bit of a wide margin. So I'm sure in theory we could do so many seasons on music on the last 20 years, but I'm glad I was the trusted
Yes.
confidant in the selection this time.
We'll make a list and we'll get some stuff together for season 4. Cool. All right. Well, good night, and I will talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.